Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard. What's going on, What Makes Us Fire family? This is Josh, your host of the What Makes Us Fire podcast. Today on the episode, we have Mr. and Mrs. Brian and Kendra Ward. They are the founders of a project called 4-Word Project, the number 4-Word Project. They built this project in remembrance of their son, who committed suicide in 2016. He was a National Guardsman. He was a bright young man. He was smart, and he loved and cared for people in a way that I wish people would be more like. In this episode, we're going to hear the story of how Brian and Kendra met, which is a bit fucking crazy if you ask me. And then we go into their lifestyle, how Eric came around, the kind of person he was, and then it's going to get a little somber. It's going to get a little bit heavy. Anybody out there that's battling with anything, I urge you to listen to this story. It is moving, it is heavy, and it will touch you in your soul. I also want to let anybody out there know, if you do have a trigger and you are in a bad space, pause the episode now and prepare yourself. What Makes Us Fire family, please help me welcome Mr. and Mrs. Brian and Kendra Ward, founders of 4-Word Project. The conversation is going to happen fluidly in that we're starting to learn about each other, allows our listeners to feel like they're actually getting to know you too. And this is not rehearsed in any way, shape, or form, because it's not really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I usually just start my podcast how we're doing right now. We just kind of go into it talking. I did hit record. I don't know if you can see the little record up there. So What Makes Us Fire family? This is Mr. Brian and Kendra Ward, founders of the 4-Word Project. And we are going to get into all that a little bit later. However, I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for coming on to What Makes Us Fire podcast. It is greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice. Thank you so much.
So I also like to give a little bit of a background as to how we got in contact. And a lot of the times it's a story about how I stalk people, and it's no different. It's a little it's not really much different with you all. I, again, through social media, TikTok, I scroll through the For You page quite a bit. And the reason why I do that is because I try to find people that I feel like I can connect with. I feel like share a same idea about life, that are trying to make a difference, not just people that are trying to shake their ass on social media to get followers. Look, if that's the way you want to make money and that's the way you want to be famous, by all means, go ahead and do that. However, it's just not my bag of tea. I don't judge. It's just not my bag of tea.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see me shake my ass.
Me either.
Oh, Brian, I guarantee you there is somebody in this world that wants to see you shake your ass.
Her.
No.
Even she don't want to see it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm actually might want to see that now, just because.
That's going to be an expensive OnlyFans page.
No.
Hey, I say this all the time. I'm not gay, but $20 is $20.
It's $20. Yeah.
If that's
Right?
what I got to pay to see you shake your ass just for the sheer enjoyment and laughter, I'll pay it. Anyway, anyway, yeah. So I found you guys on the For You section. I was scrolling through the For You section and I saw that you were live, and I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who you were at all. However, I did see the background. You had an American flag, and I saw a 4-word project, and I was like, okay, well, these people are here for a purpose. It's not just some random name. It's a project. They named their tag 4-word project. That means they're here as an entity, and these are the faces of that entity. So I clicked it so I can hear what the hell you all were saying. And I jumped in, and just immediately it was, Brian, your laugh, brother. Your laugh, your smile. It was immediately infectious. Immediately infectious. I was just like, he is reading every single comment he can. He's responding. He's having a good time. You can see this guy is genuinely happy to be right where he is right now. And Miss Kendra, your smile behind him, it's like, I can't, you had this goofy smile, like, oh my God. But at the same time, you had the smile that you were enjoying being there. You guys were enjoying interacting with the people that were coming into your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was watching you guys for a little bit. I didn't want to say anything. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of, are these the type of people? What is it? And so I jumped out of your live and I went to your page, and I started seeing some of the content that you had, and it hit pretty hard, pretty quick, like really quick. And I was floored with the projected strength that you guys are showing in getting this message out that you guys are sharing. And we're going to get into all that. But that's how I found you. I was moved. I knew that you two were the type of people that I want to be associated with, even if it's just an acquaintance. I wanted to be able to be a part of what you guys had going on.
Wow.
And so I went back to your live, and Brian's still laughing his ass off. I had no idea at what. And the first thing I said was, hey, how you guys doing? And you guys responded. You literally try to hit every single person that comments. You guys do not want anybody to feel left out. You had a random comment of somebody going through a hard time, and you acknowledged them. You let them know, hey, we see you. I'm sorry you're going through that hard time. However, you still were able to keep that upbeat attitude. You were still able to engage with the others. You said, I'm sorry you're having a bad time. And even though you were still smiling and still laughing, still having a good time, you felt the sincereness behind your words, both of you. And
we want to try to support everybody the way they support us. We've been fortunate to have all the followers on our page and all the wonderful comments, and we want to give that back to the people that support us.
Absolutely.
Well, from what I've seen, you guys are doing an amazing job at doing that.
Thank you.
And so when I said hi and you acknowledged and you said, hey, I'm doing good, blah, 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 I kind of threw it. A lot of what I do in looking for guests is shooting the shot, so to speak. That's a new term I've learned here on this social media platform of TikTok. You have to shoot your shot. And back in my day, that meant something totally freaking different. But I put it out there. I said, hey, I would love to have you two on the What Makes Us Fire podcast. And what I like to do is I like to tell you where we're broadcasted on, because some people, when they see iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, when they see that, they're like, oh, okay, it's not just on some random podcast hosting site. He's actually on some pretty big sites. And I tell you what, it was hard to get on those damn sites. They have to approve you. They have to approve you. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, son of a bitch. And then it finally happened. So I throw that out there. I throw the quote unquote clout card out there. And you guys were like, oh, iHeartRadio. Oh, okay, cool. And then you friended me just so we can start contacting each other. And that's how we started this. It literally started, what, 3 days ago? 3 days ago. What's today's date? It's the 22nd. Yeah, we are 3 days away from Christmas. And it was, what, 3 days ago. So the 19th is when I reached out to y'all. And from that point, we just kind of had a little bit of a banter, messaging first on TikTok. You don't want to give your number to some random freaking stranger. I get it. But then I gave you my number. I said, hey, if you guys want to contact me. You reached out. It was awesome. And we had a little bit of a conversation last night, and I got to talk to you guys and kind of tell you what my mission was and what my goal is in raising awareness for mental health, right? And we're going to get into your project. I promise. But first, before all that, I would like to give the What Makes Us Fire family a little bit of a background of my guests. So, Mr. Brian, Miss Kendra, if you can, let the What Makes Us Fire family know where you're from, kind of what led you to each other, and then we'll get into the whole movement that you guys have created, your project. But first, where did the mind? I'm going to start with you, Miss Kendra, because I have a feeling Mr. Brian is just going to laugh through the whole thing. Where are you from? Where do you guys originate from?
Well, we live in northern Ohio near Cedar Point, so lots of people should know where that is. Yeah. But I'm one of those evil Michigan people that used to come to Cedar Point as a kid and block traffic, and I ended up here, so it's kind of weird. Yeah. Brian is from this area. That's why we're specifically in this area. We just had our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you haven't killed him yet.
I know it.
Yet.
There's hope. There is. Or it's just happening slowly and we are unaware of anything that's happening just yet.
We were both in the Army and met at a bar at Fort Hood. That's where we were both stationed, and met and just instantly clicked. Just literally instantly clicked. Spent every day together, and then 7 weeks later, he said, "Would you marry me?" And I said yes, and we went and did it the same day. Look at his eyes.
Crazy fucking kids. You know what? I can't say much. I asked my wife, not at the time, but I asked her to move, to a different state with me like 3 days after I met her. So nice. She said no, of course.
That's hilarious. Then we had to call our families and tell them what we did because nobody knew.
How young were you guys when you met, if you don't mind me asking?
21.
Yeah, he was 21. I was 22. Right?
You cougar.
Yeah. I know, right?
I know.
6 months. 6 whole months.
My wife's 9 months older than me, and I still call her the cougar. So I went after a younger guy.
I don't let her forget it either.
No, don't let her forget it.
Never. Every birthday. Oh my God, you're so old.
What drew you to the military, Ms. Kendra? What drew you to enlist into the Army?
I had gone to school for a year and was struggling to have enough money to be there, getting terrible grades. I was working all the time, had my first taste of freedom and just too immature to handle it. So I naively thought, oh, well, I'll just go work a year, make enough money, and then go back to school. That it doesn't work that way. And was living out on my own. And almost a year had passed and I was struggling just to survive. And so it was something that had always been in the back of my head, but that was another thing I very impulsively went and did, like getting married. And I make good decisions under pressure, I think, but it worked out. I mean, it was a good experience. I do recommend it to people. I think it's a smart thing to do, to get out and see the world and get out of that little bubble that you live in and see other people's viewpoints and how they live and why they think the way they think. I think it's a really good eye opener.
I think it's really crazy that any civil service realm that you get into, be it military, police, fire, EMS, the culture shock in that there is so many different people in that realm of what you're doing that you almost feel like, how is it that this is working out? Because the outside world, obviously, it looks like it doesn't work with all these people having different opinions, different ideas, and everything else. On the outside world, the general public, it looks like, fuck, we're literally hating each other for no reason. But shit, you get into something like a civil service realm, and you take all those different personalities and different backgrounds and putting them into a solid one mission type of goal, type of service, and their background, who they are, doesn't matter. It's you're my brother, you're my sister, we have this main goal, we care about each other. And it's weird how the civil service realm of careers, I guess I call it a lifestyle, really, kind of shows that the capability that the world has, but for some reason, because it's not tied to a certain thing, be it military or fire, it doesn't work. Like, that's the glue that makes it work, is that commonality, right? The common purpose, the common goal is what makes it work. But without that, you get to the general public, and if you don't have that, it's chaotic. It's chaotic. It's chaos. And it's how do you bring that general goal to make it work like in a civil service realm, right?
Yeah, you definitely see a big difference, civilian versus military.
Absolutely. I think civilian or general public, and if just separate them, a civil service job is making a sacrifice of yourself for civilization, right? For people. And I think having that commonality with the people within that common goal and within that common thought and feeling definitely helps bring that camaraderie and makes it very strong. When you get to the general public, there's no camaraderie there. It's because there's no central purpose.
Yeah, that's a really good take on it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got a little deep. Brian, it's your turn. All right, Mr. Brian. Obviously, you're from the area. She kind of dropped that little nugget there for you. Where did the mind of Mr. Brian come from?
I don't have a mind. I just do what she tells me.
Oh, whatever.
Well, before you found your handler.
Yeah.
What were you up to? How did you get into military? How did you grow up?
Grew up one brother, parents right here in town, and all of my family was military. My grandfather, my father, all three of my uncles were, well, except for Jerry. Jerry wasn't.
Right.
But I always wanted to do it, and took the ASVAB when I was a junior, and then senior year when I turned 18 in February, I went and signed up and picked my job and signed up delayed entry, and had my summer off after high school and went right into basic.
So it was like no question for you. Like that's what you were going to do.
Yeah.
Kendra was just like, shit, I'm broke.
Kinda, yeah. I didn't have help funding my schooling.
Yeah.
So, and was not aware on options to fund it other than working a job. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a good foundation to do it, and I wish I had known better, but yet this is the path my life took. So, at the time it was also devastating, but yet when you look back, I mean, I never would have met him even if I hadn't have gone. So, plus the whole thing of it was a great experience. I'm really glad that it's something that I did, and it had always been in the back of my mind, but my favorite college accepted me. So I kind of had to go.
You had to at least try it. You had to at least try it, right?
Yes. When
you guys met, so I want to get a little bit into this because 7 weeks. Come on.
I know.
I mean, it's 2 months, not even 2 months.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What? I'm going to be vulgar here. Was the sex that good? I mean, it must have been.
You better say yes.
She was shaking her head. Everybody on YouTube is going to see. She's going to be like, yeah. you guys are talking with a firefighter. I know you guys are military, so I know you guys are going to be able to handle my my jokes.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, good. I didn't ask prior. I'm sorry. However, I mean, you're talking to a freaking firefighter here.
Yeah.
All right. So walk me through you guys. How did you see her? Where were you at? How did it happen?
She loves telling this story, so I'm going to let her tell the story.
Oh my gosh. Well, we were at a bar. It was Texas.
Yeah.
Of course, it was a country bar.
I need to preface this by saying I went there to shoot pool, not get a wife.
Well,
I don't
neither.
think any. I don't think any man goes anywhere at 21 years old and thinks, I need a wife right now, especially right into the military. Yeah.
No, me neither. No, I went there with somebody that I was in the military with. She actually just passed away, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Her name was Nicole, and this is a side story, but a really weird coincidence. We were roommates at MEPS. We both went to Fort Jackson for basic, ended up in the same company and platoon. Both had the same job, went to AIT at Fort Lee, Virginia, ended up again and all the way down in the same platoon. Both got stationed at Fort Hood. She lived a block away from me. And it turned out her aunt is married to my biological father. And we had never met before.
Yeah.
So
pretty odd.
So now she was, a solid foot shorter than me. And so we would tell each other we were cousins and nobody believed us. We were step cousins, technically. But anyway, I was with her. Another person that was a friend of hers went to this country bar because it's all there is in Texas, right? I don't know. You're in Texas. Is that true?
No, it's not true. But at that time, to be honest with you, probably was a little bit more true than it is today, especially in the Fort Hood area. So definitely in the Fort Hood area. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So anybody that was in the Fort Hood area in the 90s, it was Cody's. You probably know what
they probably know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yes. So anyway, we were there. She and I were standing there and I saw him walk by and she said, "Oh, there you go, Maddie." My maiden name was Madison. So people called me Maddie. And I was like, all right. Yeah, that was it. He was gone. And then we got a table up by the pool tables and he was playing pool. And she was teasing me about him a little bit. And I was just like, yeah, he's cute, whatever. So this is the interesting part.
Cute, whatever. I like that. Cute, whatever.
Well, he did look a lot like Tom Cruise back in the 90s.
Oh my God.
Before crazy Tom Cruise emerged, but
and now I'm old and I look like Tom Hanks.
No. No.
Holy shit. Yes, you do. Now that you say that, holy crap.
I don't see that at all, but multiple people have said that
on TikTok. Yeah.
You know what? Captain Phillips. You look like Captain Phillips. Tom Hanks is joking Captain Phillips. Yeah, I can see it. I
love it. That's hilarious.
God.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see it at all.
So he looked like crazy Tom Cruise.
Crazy Tom Cruise, yeah.
People used to stop us and say, "Oh my God, I thought you were Tom Cruise." He really did. It was crazy. But anyway, so I forget where I was.
You were about to tell about Carl.
Okay. So I'm over there with my cousin / friend and her friend, and he's, 20 feet away playing pool. This guy comes up to me drunk and says, "Hey, my buddy Carl wants to dance with you," and pointed at him. And I was like, wow, how weird. That's the guy we were talking about. Okay, yeah. I said, okay, yeah, tell him, yeah. The thing is like, I don't dance at all, but I was willing to make a fool of myself. So Nicole's like, "Oh, all right." And then he doesn't come over. And I'm like, I saw him go back and talk to him. Like, why isn't he coming over? Did he change his mind? And I'm getting kind of mad, like, God, whatever. So I actually never done anything like this before. I was really shy with guys. I went over to him and I said, "Hey, we gonna dance or what?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." So it's the last song of the night.
I'm going to
The
tell
ugly
you why
lights.
you did that, or at least my theory.
Why?
Because you're a woman and a man didn't follow through with what he said he was going to do. So, as a woman, you are going to make that man follow through with what he said he was going to do.
Or what his drunk friend said he would do.
But that's the thing. The guy I was shooting pool with, I didn't know him. I was not his friend. He was just some random guy that I was shooting pool with that night.
And his name's not Carl.
My name's not Carl.
Well, one hell of a wingman. Wasn't even giving your real name out. He was just like, "Hey, there's this hot chick over here, bro. He thinks your name is Carl. Do what you got to do."
It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. So, but like we've both said, it was the last dance of the night. So it was the slow one. It was half of that song. The ugly lights came on and he wasn't ugly.
Score.
So we went to Denny's and sat there and talked
until
for
7
hours.
in the morning.
Yeah. And the people with us were just like, "Oh my God,"
Can we
ready to get out of there. we were the drivers though, so too bad for them.
Right.
Uber did not exist back then. So
right. Exactly. So
and so from that point on, it was just connection. You guys just stayed in contact, and he asked you out, I'm sure, on a few more dates. Why 7 weeks?
This kind of happened that way.
Yeah, we just spent every day together. We were in different units. He was in 1st Cav and I was in 2nd Armored Division, which is now deactivated. Mm-hmm. We later became 4th Infantry, but so we were far apart on post, and just as soon as the day was done, we were together. And I know what you're thinking. Go ahead.
What? I didn't say anything.
We can see it on your face.
Yes.
She looked badass in a pair of BDUs. Really badass.
I don't know what it is about. There's a lot of men that, like, you put a woman in some BDUs, you put a woman in a white tank top and some jeans and put her hair back in a ponytail, put her in a ball cap. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know what it is. You get her working on a car, you get whatever. I don't know what it is. It's like, wow.
Definitely.
Makes her so much more attractive.
Yeah.
So 7 weeks in, it just kind of happened. You just, all right, hey, you want to marry me? And you're like, sure, why not? Like, no
literally.
hesitation.
No. We both had to work that day. Yeah. We worked all day. I asked my roommate, Melanie, and then one other person to be our witnesses. The 4 of us drove in my Jeep to Copperas Cove, went to the judge. Our wedding cost $52.
So same day.
Same day. Yeah.
Same day.
What the? I'm drinking whiskey, and it's like, usually with people drinking with those, I'm still like, what the hell?
I know. He could have been like an axe murderer or something, right?
He still might be, and you have no idea.
I know. He plays the long game, so yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. 25 years is a hell of a long time. My wife and I have been together for 13, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. You guys have about double the time on us, and she's still, she's come close, but she's still hasn't. So 7 weeks in, you guys get married that day after he asks you. Beyond crazy, but 25 years later, here you are. That's amazing. That's amazing. Take us past that a little bit. How did the family start? When did you decide to leave the military and start that family? Or did you start the family in the military? Yes. And then we'll go ahead and get into your actual family aspect with your son and everything else.
Well, we talked about it really early on, like in the first week.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ. What the
I know,
hell?
right?
God damn it. How do I make What Makes Us Fire Family? This is a rare occasion. All right. This is a rare occasion. I do not condone personally, no matter how you feel, to get married after 7 weeks on the same day. I just don't. I don't condone that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I agree. Listen, I work at a high school, and I have a team of students. And when I introduce myself, I tell them some things about myself, including that, because it gets their attention. And the next thing I say is, I do not recommend this.
Let's be honest. It's a once in a million type of thing that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
We hear it happening all the time. It happens. It does. But it's a rare occasion. It doesn't always happen this way. It's not always
Especially now.
especially now, especially
Yeah.
with everybody being able to be whoever they want to be on social media. You never really know who you're going to get.
That's the truth. Yeah.
So you guys started talking about a family about the first week.
Yeah.
So
anybody
our
watching the
son's
YouTube
due
channels-
date. Our son's due date was 9.
Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
What? Okay. All right. I have to ask this. Was pregnancy involved in asking?
No.
Hmm.
Everybody thought it was.
Everybody thought that though.
And it wasn't.
Okay.
Not at all.
I have to ask because we
that's
hear
fine.
those stories as well, and I would just want to make
Oh, you
sure
wouldn't
it's
believe
clear
how
that-
many people ask that question. Yeah.
Okay.
So Eric's due date was 9 months and 1 day after we got married. And
we know exactly what happened that night. Got it.
Yeah. Well, you could see people you could see them counting in their head, or their fingers would move as they're counting the months.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what year is this? Is this the 50s or something? I mean, this is stupid. Why does it matter?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. It really doesn't matter in the long run, as long as you're happy. However, your story is extremely unique in that it doesn't always happen that way.
Oh, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So when you look at me, look at my reaction. I'm just like, holy fuck. So we know what happened on the wedding night. Obviously, your son was born 9 months and a day later.
Yes, because I had to go to the field for 3 weeks the next day.
Yeah, so we didn't get a honeymoon.
Nope, still none.
Well, the honeymoon, you did everything in one day. Okay.
Yeah.
You had your engagement, wedding, and honeymoon all on the same day. So,
right.
That's a great way to put that.
Right.
You did. I mean, and then you started the family that night too.
And
lo and behold.
And did it all for $52. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, you're right. I wish I could have. Yeah, I wish my family would have started that way. It would have been a fuck ton cheaper. Would have been way cheaper.
It's hilarious.
So your son's born 9 months and a day later.
Yeah.
9.5. Holy crap. 9 months later, you have your son. Where do you guys go from there? Do you stay in the military? Do you decide, hey, I probably, at least one of us need to back out? Something?
Actually, I had gotten out 6 months prior to him being born.
No, 3 months before he was
3
born.
months, yeah. So she stayed, she was still in, so I picked up a job local working construction, and we stayed there for, how long were we there after he was
We
born?
left in 3 months after he was born.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got out about 3 months after he was born then?
Yeah, I got out 4 months after he was born. I had a month of terminal leave. So
Okay. So numbers wise, you were out 4 months after, but 3 months really. Okay,
Right.
I got you.
Mhm.
I got you. So where'd you guys go from there? You guys went straight to where you're at now?
No, we went up to Michigan, where she was from, and we were
Mhm.
up there for 2 years.
1 year.
1 year, yeah. A little over that.
Yeah.
And I got a job offer that brought me back here with really good pay, and been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
The love story, the fact that it literally took 7 weeks is actually really cool. Your movie, if there was a movie made about your love story,
Tom Hanks has to play me.
Yeah, but it would literally be like a 10-minute movie.
Right.
Let's dive into your son. Growing up, what was he like? If you're okay with giving his name, please give his name.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your son and the kind of man that he grew up to be and everything else.
Well, his name was Eric, and our last name is Ward. So that is why we have part of why we have our name for Ward Project. He was a very shy, intense, sensitive person.
Yeah.
Very affected by the things around him. Growing up, he was just, I'm just striving for the words to describe him right now, but as a young child, but
he grew up on Star Wars.
Yes, there you go.
Everything was Star Wars with him.
Loved to read, loved to play pretend, and he was always immersed in his imagination. Star Wars was a big part of that.
When did you realize he was kind of a bit of a child that was more in his own mind than the average child? Because let's be honest, children that tend to fall into that fantasy world, they get really caught up into it. Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. They tend to be more into their own minds.
Yes.
Their coping mechanism is their imagination, right?
Yes.
When did you start realizing that about him?
I didn't right away. I think I probably started to realize it when he went to preschool. He was the oldest grandchild on both sides, and we didn't do daycare because we worked opposite shifts. So he didn't have a lot of exposure to other kids. Yeah. We have a daughter also, Bailey, but they're 3.5 years apart. So he was about to go into preschool when she was born, and he got along with other kids. There weren't really issues like that, but he tended to stay more off on his own and then maybe make a smaller quantity of friends that were closer friends instead of being the life of the party, Yeah. Interestingly, though, we've heard that a lot recently from people that he was the life of the party when he was older.
When he got older.
Yeah.
As a teenager, his friends really brought him out of his shell.
Yeah. So. he did not have a lot of confidence for the majority of, probably for his entire life, but he did not find himself attractive physically or think he was smart or anything. He was a really smart, kind-hearted person. He was a really good-looking guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture behind you guys right now.
Yeah.
Behind you, Brian. I mean, you can tell his smile is like, he's a good-looking kid. He's a good-looking kid. He does not. As a firefighter, I'm not afraid to say, maybe he didn't look all that good, but he does. He's a very good-looking young man. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's not below average. He's a good-looking man. I would say he's above average. There's nothing wrong with him.
And he was oblivious to the fact that he was so good-looking.
It really was.
I mean, girls just fawning over him, and as in a way, it was a good thing that he wasn't realizing that.
Because who knows? 7 weeks later, you guys might have had a daughter-in-law.
We'd get paid back. Yes. No, he really didn't. He didn't realize. We'd be in the store and girls would be giggling, and you could tell they were like, "Oh, he's so cute." He just would walk right past them, didn't even know what was going on, or or even think maybe they were laughing at him. He didn't realize what it was all about. And, he was a really good athlete.
That's something I was going to ask. What kind of sports did he do growing up?
He did everything.
He was a tri-sport athlete every year in school.
Yep.
So baseball, football, and then track or something like that.
Football, basketball, swimming.
Football, basketball,
then
swimming.
He dropped swimming and went to track.
No, he dropped basketball and football.
Yes.
Because he hated politics.
Yeah.
It was part of that. Couldn't stand to be around that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So he switched from basketball to swimming, and it was hilarious because the swim team was after him for a couple years. Mm-hmm. They would come surround him at lunch and talk about, wouldn't it be great if you did swimming instead of basketball, and try to convince him. And then he finally did. So
and when he did, he was great at it.
Here's the thing. I think I just noticed something about him from what you're telling me, from his young childhood and how he was, into why he probably enjoyed swimming a little bit more and not so much the team sports, right? He enjoyed being on his own and kind of doing his own thing. So even though swimming and track are technically team sports, he was responsible for his own thing. Right?
Yep.
It was his race.
Yeah.
It was, there was no passing the ball. There was no relying on somebody else.
Right.
It was, he was able to do it on his own. So it makes sense that he went into a sport that, even though it was a quote unquote team sport, his performance was measured based on just him alone.
And the drawback of that was he was so hard on himself when he didn't perform the way he thought he should.
Very hard on himself. Yeah, the front end of that, absolutely. He wasn't replaced by someone because their dad was the coach or they had a more prominent last name or whatever.
Yeah, the good old boy system doesn't.
The
good old boy system doesn't really apply when it comes to track and
exactly.
when it comes to single performance measures.
And it was funny too. The people he looked up to in swimming, like. What was the older kid's name?
Trent.
Yeah. He looked up to him and would actually get embarrassed if Trent was giving him compliments because he was fast. He was really fast in the water. And, Trent was like, man, you are just amazing. He never was one to take compliments real well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yet he needed them,
yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He needed that reassurance, but yet he had a hard time processing it.
Yeah.
It sounds like because he is now learning this outside source of comfort. And when you were so used to this inside in your head, imagining realm for yourself to make yourself comfortable, and now other people are noticing you, you're like, whoa, these are real people noticing now. This is the real world. Like, wow, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And I can kind of relate to him a little bit. I was big into track, huge into track, and I loved it because even though it was a team sport, it was on me to perform my race or my pole vault or my hurdle, whatever the case may be. And when I was on the team sports and then having to deal with, now it's a competition with my peers in whether or not I'm even going to be able to participate. Track, you're going to participate and you're just doing the best you can.
Yep.
When you start getting compliments and stuff outside of that, you're like, well, I got into this so nobody would talk to me.
Yep.
When did you guys start noticing that he was kind of teetering on the edge with mental health issues?
We didn't. He hid everything that was hurting him behind bright eyes and a beautiful smile the whole time.
Definitely. He was sensitive and those sorts of things, but it never, except for one instance, it didn't occur to us that it was outside the realm of normal.
Right.
Shortly before he passed away, friends came to us and told us that he had confessed to them that he'd been thinking about taking his own life. And we immediately acted on it. He was gone on drill with his unit in the National Guard.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So this awareness, the friends coming to you, came post high school.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How old was he when you got this awareness from his friends?
It was that year. He was 20.
Yeah. It was weeks before.
Yeah.
So he was 20 years old. And some of his friends actually made the step in coming to you and saying, hey, he's expressed these feelings to us. We want to let you know so something can get done. Or they didn't know what to do, or whatever the case may be.
They did, and they felt a little unsure if they should tell us.
Yeah.
And, I understand that, maybe not taking it seriously, maybe being afraid of our response. We're very open with our kids about everything. And I honestly felt a little surprised he hadn't told me.
Yeah.
He was my best friend. We talked about everything. I mean, everything. And at least I thought we did. And then when I heard that, I was very surprised, but also immediately wanted to act on it and reach him and talk to him. And I did reach him, and he denied it a little bit at first, but then was a little upset that he was being confronted with it. But I just tried to positively support him and just stick with saying, we love you, we care about you, we don't want you to be feeling bad like this, and we love you. We were always very open with that too, open with affection. Still hugged him, gave him a kiss at night. I love you constantly. That was something very important to us. That was very deliberate. And said, let's talk when you get back. But if for some reason, you have strong feelings before then, contact us or somebody there. And when he came back, he really did not want to discuss it.
He swore up and down he was fine.
Yep.
And
we did a little mild trickery by taking him to the VA with an appointment with Brian, making it appear as if it was an appointment for Brian, but we just want you to go along.
Yeah.
And he knew what to do to make it seem like he was okay. And put up.
That's the thing with people that are that have suicidal ideations, especially those that are really, really seriously contemplating it. It's never just I feel bad, I want to do this thing. It is it's a buildup, and that buildup, you learn what to say and what not to say to keep yourself open to the possibility of still being able to do what you want to do. Yeah. And I'm only saying this on my aspect. I can't speak for him in any way, shape, or form. However, there is science that shows it's a very common thing that happens. So what happens is when a loved one becomes aware that they have somebody that they're close to that are having these ideations, that are having these thoughts, and they start pursuing them and trying to help them. Well, in our heads, we don't think of it as help, right? We think of it as now we're burdening the people we love.
Yes.
Right? We start thinking of it as, well, shit, I can't even want to end my own life because even doing that, just the thought of that is creating issue. Now, this is another issue I'm creating. I can't do anything right. I can't even want to kill myself without creating an issue, right? And it's just this idea of being a burden that just, for whatever reason, we can't get out of our heads. And so when we get pursued to try to get better, we know exactly what to say. We know exactly what to say to the doctors, to our loved ones, to quote unquote throw them off the scent. In in layman's terms.
You're completely on target. He left us a goodbye message, and he said almost verbatim what you're saying.
Yeah.
He was a burden. He didn't deserve help. He didn't deserve to be here. As if he was taking away from others. And he didn't want to do that to us, to take away from us our time, our effort, finances even. He just felt, these darn dogs, sorry.
You're all right. It's okay. That's the cool thing about this here on the podcast, is that we know that we're normal human beings. We're normal human beings. We went through a tragedy, right? And the thing about life is barking dogs or bills or the phone ringing. That's part of life.
Right.
Our tragedy does not pause life. It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like time stops, life still happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes the tragedy that much harder to deal with. Sometimes it makes it easier. It just depends. But the fact that you guys have barking dogs in the background just kind of tells everybody that no matter who you are, this happens.
Yeah.
This happens. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be the richest, most successful human being in the world and still have a mental health issue, a
Right.
mental health disease, because it is a disease. You can break mental health down to a biological level. It is not a simple as you can choose not to do it. It doesn't work that way. Literally, your brain is sending chemicals to another part of your brain that makes you have these thoughts that you can't control. It takes medication, it takes therapy. And it's only until recently that the science world has learned that we are capable of rewiring our neurotransmitters. We are capable of reactivating certain neurotransmitters to start firing correctly, but it takes cognitive behavioral therapies, it takes meditation, it takes all these things that there is science behind
Absolutely.
to make it work. That's why don't worry about the dogs. Don't worry about life happening around you, because it's okay. It's part of the whole point that I'm trying to make, in that we are normal human beings that do this abnormal job. He was a military man, just like you two. He was he was a normal human being doing an abnormal job. And whatever and whenever this mental health issue started taking over, anything and everything on top of that just became more of something for him to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason why I said burden and all that stuff, because that is actually it is probably one of the most common statements made by those that have suicidal ideations.
Yeah.
They think that they are a menace to society, in that they are costing people time. They are costing people heartache. They can't do anything right. The things that they do right, the things that they actually do accomplish, doesn't do anything for them, because it's like they feel like they didn't deserve the fact that they actually accomplished it. There's something tied to that accomplishment that doesn't allow them to actually enjoy it. Even like for me, it was, even though I knew I went to school, I became a firefighter, I got good grades, all that other stuff didn't matter. The fact that I had a family and 2 kids, my depression did not allow any of those things to matter. My loving family, my mother, my father, my friends, my siblings, my wife, none of those things mattered to my depression. My depression didn't give 2 shits about them. Right.
Neither did mine.
Right. And when, especially with somebody that's young, that 20 years old, science says a male human brain doesn't even fully develop until it's about 26, 27 years old. And it goes through a huge shift in neurological changes, especially when a new career starts, a new move, something that's different, that's stressful. There's a huge neurological change on how they are going to cope with life. But you start that change having a mental health issue, Now you're adding more stress to the brain that you cannot, on top of it not already firing correctly. It's a hard fight. It is a hard fight. I do not believe your son acted selfishly at all. I want to make that abundantly clear, because there's this common misconception that those that commit suicide committed a selfish act. I don't believe that. I believe
I agree with you on that. And it seems to me that most of the people that say that aren't family to the person that did it. Because I hear a lot of people say that, and that was not Eric. Eric was not a selfish person. And he made it very, very clear in the 2 videos that he made on his cell phone that night that he was sorry. He apologized repeatedly. No, he was not selfish, not at all.
the act is to end a internal pain that we just, for some reason, can't get rid of. It's a hard, it can be fought against, it can be gotten rid of, but it takes, you gotta fight it early on. And if you're not able to fight it early on, you're gonna need to find that support system or that strength within yourself. You have to find that second wind, is what I like to call it. You have to find that second wind to be able to fight those demons in your head.
I just think he wasn't willing to look for that.
Yeah.
You know, people make assumptions of, well, this must have happened because a bad thing happened to him.
Yeah.
No,
No,
you know,
no.
that may be true for some people, but you know, I mean, or people approach it from the opposite side and say, wow, he had a great life. Why would he go and do something stupid like that?
Yeah.
It's not about all of that, you know. His parents were still together. We have a decent home. He never went hungry. No one hurt him, you know, supportive home, those sorts of things. Good friend group, really nice friends.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and that's the whole point. It's not about that. Not in his case. Other people may have those factors, you know, in their life as well.
But even though those are just factors, there's something deeper than that. Yes, there are things that contribute, that can make it stronger or better, depending on what's happening. But when it comes to the actual baseline issue is the mind. It's literally your mind is not firing correctly. There is a cross connection somewhere where these happy feelings, that dopamine that's supposed to be going to the part of your brain that's supposed to make you feel happy, well, it's not going there. It's going to the place that makes you feel sad. And that's, you know, is misfiring. That's a biological
the fact that
thing.
He was able to hide that as well as he did, especially that weekend. I mean,
what was special about that weekend that makes it so unusual for him to hide it?
It's just that we went up to Michigan because her sister's daughter had passed away a few months before.
They had the funeral that weekend.
Yeah. Memorial service.
Yeah. Memorial service that weekend.
And we went up and attended that. And, you know, Eric and Bailey went with us. He was in his normal spirits like he always was. You know, she got, we went back to her mom's house for a while, and Eric was on the ground playing with the dog, and she got a couple pictures of him. And we drove back. We actually drove 2 vehicles up and back, and Eric rode with me on the way back, and Bailey was with Kendra. You know, we talked. He did his usual things. It's a 4-hour trip up there. He fell asleep for a while, then he'd wake up, you know, and he changed the radio station, and never gave any indication that there was a problem. And even after the fact, when we went through his phone, he was texting with his girlfriend that night, long after we had went to sleep, talking about what they were going to do in the future and if they're going to get together for lunch the next day and stuff like that. And it was hard to come to terms with the fact that he had thought about this for so long, and we weren't really sure if it was something that got into his head that night or if he'd actually been planning it and was just hiding it from everybody. And
I would like to say that it probably was something that just with depression, sometimes it's the smallest freaking trigger. And it could be a subconscious trigger where we wouldn't even be able to point it out as to why we started going into that hole. It could just be a random thought. You know how sometimes you'll be sitting watching TV and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot this. It's almost similar to that, where you're just sitting there, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden you just have this random thought and this feeling just boom, take over.
Yeah.
He might have actually been on the road to recovery. He actually could have actually been, getting better. But because those things happen with people with depression, those random intrusive thoughts, and you never know when they're going to come up. That's the hardest thing, especially if you're not medicated. And I am a huge advocate for people that are against medication, especially mental health medication.
Yeah.
Don't be against it. They help.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Not just medication, it's medication and therapy in hopes that you can get off the medication later. But if you're not on the medication to allow you to recognize it's an intrusive thought, sometimes when that intrusive thought happens, it literally, and I'm speaking from experience, it will consume you. It makes you feel like it is you.
Yeah.
That makes sense as an outsider hearing that analysis, and one other thing that we've always wondered about as well, he'd gotten in a motorcycle accident a few weeks earlier and had hit his head. And we had wondered if that had sort of exacerbated things, if it could play a role at all.
No, he had a helmet on.
Yeah, he did. He did. But still, he did hit his head, and it's something we've always wondered. And I'm sure we'll never know. But
yeah. Speculation, but we all know. I mean, shoot, look at the NFL. They had they had a string there for a while of ex-NFL players having suicidal ideations and committing suicide, and they attributed it to the concussions.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally banging your brain around. There's no wonder. I mean, of course, there's going to be some misfiring, something shifted around that now it's not firing right anymore, right? So it's definitely a possibility. You'll never know.
And of course, that was just one more thing that upset him because he loved to ride. And I fixed his bike, and he actually had his bike towed home by one of his military buddies. And as soon as he got out of the car and walked over, I gave him a hug and I said, "It's okay." "Oh, my bike's all fucked up." I said, "Fuck that bike. We'll fix it. Just care that you're okay." Because he wore head to toe gear, just like I did. Helmet, gloves, leather jacket. He had it all on. And the side of his helmet was just pavement scrapes. And he had holes in his jacket from where he slid along the pavement. But the only thing he really got out of it was the gauntlets of his gloves rolled up on the pavement, and he scratched the backs of his wrists. Other than that, he was pretty okay.
His hip hurt.
Yeah.
And that happened a couple weeks before.
About 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
He was on his way down to drill, and he was getting off an exit ramp that was a wide sweeping curve. And he entered the curve a little faster than he should. And they had a concrete divider from his lane to the next lane. And he got his tires up against it and over he went, But he was so pissed at himself that he did that, and he'd only been riding for a year.
Yeah, not very long.
So that's actually
felt stupid.
Yeah.
There
was actually a funny story behind the bike thing too. So.
Oh yeah.
Go for it. You're laughing.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I'm totally okay. I am so good with rabbit holes. Don't get like, I love rabbit holes because now here's the thing. Now, if we start going around in circles, obviously I'm going to try to push it forward, but I love rabbit holes because rabbit holes, you get to hear a little bit more of who the people are we're talking about and get a real sense of, you know, how they think. So give me that funny story about the bike.
Yeah, it was, I've been riding since I was literally 10 years old. I got endorsed at 16. So I've been an endorsed rider now for 31 years. Eric had always wanted a motorcycle. She was adamantly against him getting a motorcycle. And it was a senior year. And I told him, I said, well, you and I go take a ride. Well, I had bought my crotch rocket. And this was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I had bought mine and he loved it. So he and I went out just driving for hours, just looking for stuff on side of the roads for sale. And we got out into Bellevue and I spotted this bright red Honda CBR 600 RR race replica. And he went, oh my God, look at that. So we went up to the guy and talked to him. And I said, I want to take it for a ride. And I drove it up and down the street. And Eric's like, oh my God, Dad, I want that bike. It's like, now he didn't know how to ride. He had never ridden.
So his first bike was a 600.
600. Yeah. Go big or go home, man.
A 600 crotch rocket.
Rocket.
Yeah, that's, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I probably would have suggested a 250. I know it's a smaller bike.
Yeah.
However, a beginning rider.
Yeah, I had all the faith in the world in him though. And so we bought it, we got it home, and she was in town with her students at a dinner.
Yeah, I had an annual dinner with my students. Yep.
So Eric and I bring the bike back home. We jump in the truck, we go into town and meet up with her. We were literally just sitting there and we did not say anything about motorcycles, nothing of the sort. And she turns and looks at us and says,
I looked at him and I went, oh my God, you bought a motorcycle. He apparently has a I bought a motorcycle face because I could read that on his face. And then I looked at Eric and Eric had the same face and I went, oh my God, you bought 2 motorcycles.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Brian, dude, you do not do anything like low level, bro. I mean, 7 weeks in, engagement, marriage, honeymoon, 9 months later, kid. Fuck the starter bike, son. You're a 600. Let's go. Go big or go home.
Right?
Brian, you live your life on like you live your life on fucking speed, bro. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
Well, my thought on that was really simple. Why waste the money on a small bike that he's going to outgrow in a month? You know, I wanted a bike that he could grow into. And, you know, I'm standing out in the front yard with him on that bike. He's geared up and everything else. And I'm teaching him how to use the clutch, how to shift and stuff like this. And I turn and I look and she's standing in the front doorway, leaned up against the door sill, just watching me with her arms crossed, smiles at me. And she knew I loved it. I loved being able to give that to him and have that bond with him. And he picked it up so quick. Yeah. And we went out and we rode all over the place for a year. And it was phenomenal. That's one of my favorite memories with him.
Thank you for sharing that, because like we hear all these stories of having this really good moment in life, right? And something like the tragedy happens and it just furthers the idea of it just not making any fucking sense. Yeah. It makes no sense at all as to why what happened. Yeah. Right? You had an amazing relationship with your son. He was a bright young man, started in an early career in the civil service in the National Guard, and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you find this out. The tragedy happens weeks after his friends bring it up that he started having these ideas. What year was it again that the
2016.
2016? And I'm sorry, what month and year did this happen again?
August.
August 22.
Yeah.
August 22nd of 2016.
On my brother's birthday. Yeah.
That's the thing about tragedy, right? It never happens on our time.
No. Mm-mm.
But I think that's why we call it a tragedy. Because if we were able to plan it, would it really even be a tragedy?
Yeah.
Right.
This happens and your son commits suicide. I want to kind of we're going to get a little bit somber here. I want to kind of understand where the thought process was in your heads from the moment of finding out and then when you were able to actually process what happened.
Well, that night, and I should preface this by saying I have a hearing loss from the military. I wear hearing aids and I don't sleep with my hearing aids in, obviously. So I am generally dead to the world. Nothing wakes me up when I'm sleeping. The slightest thing usually wakes her up. And that night, I hear the dog barking like crazy. So I get up and I open the bedroom door and I see Eric's bedroom light is on, which is right across from mine. And I look in, he's not in there. And then I hear the doorbell ring. And I walk down to the bottom of the steps and I look out and I see a sheriff's deputy standing on the front porch. And I really didn't think nothing of it at the time. We're out in the country, so I thought maybe somebody's vehicle got broken into or something like that, you know. So I opened the door, and I'm thinking because Eric's light was on, maybe he fell asleep on the couch downstairs or something. I didn't know. And I opened the door, and I said yes, and he says, "Are you Eric Ward's father?" And my heart immediately dropped. I went cold as shit. And I looked to the driveway and I saw his car was gone. And I looked back to the officer and I was shaking. And I literally started to put my hand out and I said, "Yes. Oh my God, is he okay?" And the deputy took me by the wrist and said, "I'm so sorry, sir. He's deceased." And I muttered, "What?" I couldn't believe it. And he said, "I'm so sorry." And I literally fell into this deputy's arms, screamed. And then I pulled back and I said, "How did he die?" And my first thought was it was going to be a car accident. And he told me that he had shot himself. And as soon as I heard that, I literally ran in the house, grabbed my truck keys, went outside. The truck was already unlocked. And I had the answer I was looking for before I even opened the door. I opened the door and I opened the center console where I kept my concealed carry, and it was gone. And as soon as I saw that, I literally collapsed in the driveway. The deputy came over, trying to comfort me and console me. And he walked me back up to the house, walked me inside the door, and he said, "Do you want me to stay?" And I said, "Yes, I have to tell my wife." And our daughter was actually sleeping downstairs here in the recliner. I didn't even know it. I hadn't been in the living room yet. And I remember laying myself against the wall as I walked up the stairs crying. And I walked into our bedroom and turned the light on. And I pretty much lost it at that point. And I screamed her name. And she jumps up and she runs over and she grabs me by the hands and she says, "What? What?" And I blurted out, "Eric's dead." And she screamed, "What?" And she ran past me and went downstairs, and then you talked to the deputy. Mm-hmm. And at some point, the deputy left. Kendra and I went in the living room, woke Bailey up, who slept through all of it.
Yeah.
And we broke it to her. And we all pretty much collapsed on the floor and cried. I was pretty much useless for the next 3 weeks straight. It hit me hard. I had an anxiety attack right then and there. She thought I was having a heart attack. And for those first 3 weeks, she was the only thing that got me through it. It didn't hit her like it hit me until about a month afterwards, because I think she kind of went into shock right away, where I absorbed the blast. And it took us a long time to get out of a bad mindset. A solid 6 months at least, before there was any sense of, well, there is no normalcy anymore, of course. You don't get over this, you don't get through it, you learn to carry it with you. And it takes a long time to learn that. But with the Forward Project, it gave us a reason to have something positive out of this. And it helps people the way Eric would have loved to help people.
Excuse me. Thank you. Hearing that story, and being a father, that hits me really, really, really hard. But I think it hits me on a different level too, because I was in your son's shoes. And I'm hearing what could have been the possible effects.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm getting hit from both sides right now, so you have to excuse me, Miss Kendra. I would like to get your point of view if you're comfortable. You don't have to. I understand I'm asking you to relive a day that we wish we can forget, but we know we'll never be able to.
Right.
If you're up to it, I'd love to get from the point your husband tells you what happens and the thought process. Isn't it?
Yeah. Being in a little bit of a fog of being asleep to just being jolted awake like that, I was kind of on autopilot. And I remember running past him and seeing the deputy at the bottom of the stairs. And I was talking to him so deliberately. Are you sure it was him? How did this happen? Trying to get a sense of what's going on to make sure it's real, and not believing it, kind of not feeling like it's really me talking. It just, none of it made sense. Things weren't in place. We had just laughed with him. We had just spent time with him. And so I said earlier how we always made it.
We always made it a point to tell him that we loved him before he went to sleep.
And I didn't do that night.
Yeah.
want to say thank you to both of you for I want to say thank you to both of you for allowing us into this part of your life. I think for those of us that can kind of be on both sides of the story, parents, and then those of us that have been on that edge, never ever being able to actually see what the repercussion of those actions can be. It's hard for me to even look at you guys right now because it makes it makes what my depression had it won that battle that day. It makes it real.
Yeah.
Moving forward past this day, Brian alluded to the fact that it kind of took you a little bit longer, Kendra, for you to actually kind of finally realize what happened and it hit you. Can you kind of walk me through how? And because a lot of people aren't going to understand that, how could it hit you so later on, right? Why didn't it happen right then and there for you? How come it took you a month? Yeah, and it's hard to explain when tragedy happens. Your mind, when something like that happens, your mind, the chemicals, the brain synapses, everything just gets jumbled to shit. It is literally it's like taking file cabinets of memories and emotions and ideas, opening them all up, tossing them all over the fucking place, and papers go everywhere. And so once that tragedy finally starts winding down and the pieces, and you're starting to pick it up and you're starting to put things back into place, then you're like, holy fuck, this happened.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, he, like he talked about, literally fell apart, fell on the floor, wasn't really breathing even. And I'm having a moment of, oh my God, I'm losing my son and my husband on the same night. Like, what the hell? And I, at that moment, had to go into some kind of protective mode for myself. And I just kept talking to him and saying, you have to breathe. I can't have you leave me here. I need you here. You've got to do this. Do I need to call 911? You know, because he was wild-eyed and I didn't know what was going on. And I had to fortify myself at that moment and shut down in a way so I could make it through that night. And we ended up a different police officer who's a very close friend that just moved, but lived right around the corner, came over immediately. One of Eric's closest friends came over immediately, and I was not present. I just wasn't there, just waiting for it to be over with so I could wake up and have some normalcy again. And this was not real. I didn't want to believe that it was real. I think that's probably a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then having to tell people and going through the whole process of, besides the shock and the pain and the, what am I going to do now? Do I even want to be here still? Yeah. You know, all of those thoughts, and just the pain would come in waves, just literally.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it would happen to us at the same time where we just fall over on each other crying, or just vacant.
It was a lot easier when it was one of us at a time.
Yeah.
So the other one could be there for, but
yeah.
when I woke up that next morning, and we didn't get to bed until, 5?
Yeah, just laid there for a while.
Laid there,
Went to
crying.
sleep hoping that we'd wake up from it.
Yeah, and it was just as hard waking up the next morning and realizing that it did happen, and then the pain just starts all over again.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a personal question, and I'm asking this more for informational than anything else. And it is not, I don't want you to take offense to this question.
It's okay.
At any point in time between the two of you, was there any blame? Because we hear sometimes, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You didn't see it. Well, you didn't see it either. Did you guys have to go through a point of something?
Not in the way you're thinking.
Okay.
We each blamed ourselves.
Yeah. There was no back and forth at all.
No.
Not even once.
Not one time.
But we both had thoughts of, it's my fault because this, or my fault that, or why didn't I do that? I mean, wait, if I was so close to him, how could I not know this? Why did he not listen to me? We talked about everything. Why did he not tell me more? Or,
So do you think subconsciously maybe you both were trying to, again, this is going to sound bad, but I want to go through this whole thought process and this whole feeling process, because
sure,
as human beings, we do this and we do it subconsciously. So Brian, when you heard Kendra say, well, I could have done this, I could have done that, did you come back with, well, I could have done this and I could have done that?
Yeah.
And it almost became like a who could have done more type thing, where you didn't blame each other. You didn't blame each other.
Who could have done more? It was, stop blaming yourself.
It's my fault.
Damn well, it's my fault because this.
Yeah.
And it took her 2 years of nothing but continually reassuring and telling me, because I kept telling her over and over, if I hadn't shown him where the gun was at, he never would have done this. And I held on to that for so long. And she kept telling me over and over, that is not why this happened. If that hadn't been there, it would have been something else.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna back her up 110%, because when somebody's in that mindset, when somebody made the decision, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They just take advantage of whatever is there or is known. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Once that decision is made, it's just like somebody committing an act of violence to somebody else. As soon as they make that decision, it doesn't matter how they're going to commit that act. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You can't stop a criminal from doing criminal things. You can't stop somebody that has made the decision of doing that. It doesn't matter. You could have given him the world. Once he made that decision, it did not matter.
The other thing too to touch on with regards to him not wanting to hurt us by doing this. One, the fact that he left here instead of just doing that in the driveway or somewhere on.
He was thinking about you. He was thinking about you.
And it was during his drive to the place he did it when he made those videos for us. So absolutely, he did not do this to hurt us. He did it to end his pain.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
I want to say thank you again to both of you for allowing us to be privy to that tragedy, to that part of your lives. I know it's hard to relive. I know it's hard to even think about. But the fact that you were able to come on to this show and show what is human is amazing. The fact that you're able to do that shows that I already know this had nothing to do with you two. Absolutely nothing. Your son made a decision on his own. He was unable to battle the demons in his head. There was nothing you could have done about it. He loved you unconditionally, and you know that.
We do know that.
Yeah.
He was just unable to fight that battle. That's all it was. And it doesn't say anything less about him. Does not say anything less about him. That boy was a strong, young, amazing boy.
Yes.
He did good things in this world.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he's continuing to do good things in this world, and he's continuing to do good things in this world through you. That brings me to your 4-word project. The number 4-word project. He is still making a difference, and he's still making a difference through you. What is 4-word project, and why did you start it?
Well,
you should probably start with the benefits, because that kind of led into
before that.
Yeah.
So at Eric's funeral, as you would expect, people come and tell you nice things, but there were so many, and despite being close, so many things we didn't know, and I mean good things.
Yeah.
Some
funny
things too. Yeah. But there were soldiers that came from all across the country just to tell him goodbye.
Yeah.
And they only maybe knew him from basic training. And they came to us to tell us how somebody was picking on them at basic training. And he would step in and stop it. But not the, ooh, I'm the biggest, strongest guy, I'm going to stop it. But I'm tall and have a little bit of muscle, but I'm going to use my personality and a little bit of humor to diffuse the situation. So your focus is on me instead of this guy that you're picking up, in a smart way.
He was able to diffuse those situations.
Yeah. Well, he had experience with being picked on.
Yeah.
So he knew how to do that. And, just how much they appreciated feeling like he became a shield for them. But then the next layer was, then he was their biggest cheerleader and was there to encourage them. You can do it. Don't quit. Don't give up. Come on, you can make it, and supported them. And he was fun and funny and all of those things. So to travel from California for a funeral of a guy that you'd only known in basic training as veterans, also us, that was like, wow. He really made an impact on multiple people that came and told us this. So that was part of it. And then his friends, telling us some stories about him. And then the community just went wild donating money to pay for his funeral. It was completely paid for.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of money left over. And we did not want to have it for ourselves. So we wanted to do something with it and make it go somewhere else. So started talking about what could we do. And the first benefit that was put together was for us. And that's where they raised money. People, businesses from all across the area donated things to be raffled off, food.
Yeah.
It just, so many people showed up. It was completely not digital, not online.
Nothing.
And
it was word of mouth only.
Yeah. And it just, it was huge. And we were so grateful, despite being just immersed in this pain. We were so grateful that people did that for us, but for him too. So, we decided we wanted to then turn that into an annual event, but for someone else to pay it forward. And so we started doing that. We did that for a few years, and we just weren't able to grow. We were on social media. We had a wonderful, very strong, supportive foundation here locally. but we're not controversial. Oh,
So
can't hear
that
you. Oh.
that
There you
idea
go.
after the first time is when you came up with Forward Project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Initially, we were just so like, wow, all these wonderful things that people are telling us about Eric. He was involved in organized community service. Then people are telling us these things. Then everybody came together to donate money to us. And the thing is that we're just normal, regular people. We weren't hurting financially and really needed this assistance. No one ever asked that question. They just did it because they wanted to. And that was just like, wow, he obviously made an impact on people. How kind of them to do that. But we kept finding out more. We found footage on his helmet cam and in some other places. He was like going out at night and feeding homeless people. And we didn't know that.
We had no idea.
This helmet cam footage that we've got on our TikTok account, he knew, you can tell by the way he's talking to this man who's homeless in our area. They knew each other and had obviously had plenty of conversations, because the man is showing him, hey, look, I got my license. I got my first apartment, or not first probably, but I got an apartment. And Eric's just encouraging him
and gives him a hug.
Yeah,
you know,
just treating him like anybody else.
Eric was on his bike
awesome.
driving down the street and spotted him and made a U-turn to go back and talk to this guy.
And he left the footage on. This wasn't a, hey, look what I did.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to share it with the world, because in the middle of the conversation, he realizes it's on and he turns it off.
Yeah.
So it's just so many things like that we wanted to keep putting that out there, the things he did for people and how he helped people. So we have raised money for an equine therapy program in our area that helps veterans and kids with special needs, a service dog organization.
And the funds that we raised, it was Boots to Grasses, the equine therapy. The money we raised for them, they actually bought another horse and named it Stormy.
Eric's missed before the storm.
Yes.
So they named the horse after Eric even. And a friend of mine, her name is Sarah. She was having some difficulty with some similar thoughts at the same time, and saw kind of the after effects, as you've described a bit too, of seeing what happens after suicide to those who are left. So one day, shortly after, she walked into a bicycle shop and said, what bike should I buy? I'm going to ride my bike across the country. And did it, rode her bike across the country and dedicated her ride to Eric and two friends that she had lost overseas. She was a combat veteran as well, and carried him with her throughout the whole trip, which was amazing. There's a video on our TikTok where she does just this incredible tribute to him at the Grand Canyon, which was, I got to watch it on Facebook.
Facebook Live?
Yeah, FaceTime, actually.
FaceTime. Okay.
Yeah. So, it kept evolving into more and more things, but we felt like we were doing all these things to, that he would have supported, or he did support. He did toy collection drives. He was very involved with Teen Leadership Corps, which is a curriculum in our area that is an elective in high school where they do community service projects. Out of that, there's now a grant with that organization called the Eric Ward Memorial Grant that gets kids to participate in community service projects in our area. So there's so many of the great things that keep coming out of it, but kind of we're running into a wall because we're just not controversial. We're not big and flashy. And I tell you, TikTok came along and we have turned a corner, and we're meeting great people like yourself,
like you.
making great connections.
Oh, guys. So sweet. No.
Right?
So anytime, I'm because of my mindset, it's hard for me to take compliments. However, I don't want to diminish somebody's compliment because it's their feeling, it's their emotions. So
Yeah.
I have tried to make lighthearted of it. So whenever I get a compliment or a gift on live or something, I'm like, oh, thanks. It's a way for me to make it lighthearted for myself.
I understand. I really do.
Because it's hard for me to take compliments, but I really do. I greatly appreciate that. The fact that you guys have literally turned this tragedy into something so much more than just a tragedy is it's fucking phenomenal. I'm just gonna say it. It is fucking phenomenal. It's an amazing thing that you have turned something that has before and still does to this day that can literally ruin those that have left behind's lives, because sometimes they just don't know how to push through. They don't know how to turn that tragedy into something to learn from. And you did. You both have found the strength within yourselves to allow yourselves to be open and honest as human beings, as a mother and father to a military serviceman who took his life. That's what it is.
You know, what was interesting was at his funeral, leading up to the funeral, we only thought that a few of his, soldier friends would show up and maybe his commanding officer, because we were actually told at one point that that was all it was going to be. Mm-hmm. We of course had requested a flag for his coffin. Well, apparently it went up through his chain of command and they pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, they sent basically a company and they had a 21 gun salute, taps on the actual bugle. It was incredible. And the outpouring of support from not only his unit, but like Kendra had mentioned, soldiers across the country that showed up. Just amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Where do you want Forward Project to go from here? Because it sounds like Forward Project is not Forward Project, it's Forward Projects.
Yeah. It's become that.
You guys are involved in so many things, and his name and his purpose and his true meaning in life. Sometimes looking back on things, we sometimes think, I really would have been really great without the tragedy. But because of this tragedy, you're making a huge difference in this world. And it's almost, had it not been for that tragedy, would this have happened?
No, obviously not.
So it's almost like you don't want to give it merit, right? It's like this, you don't want it to have happened for this to have happened, but because it happened, it did happen. And it's like these emotions, you're like, oh, none of this would have happened had this not happened. And I much rather would have had him been here. Yes. But look at the difference we're making because it happened. And it's like these mix of emotions. It's like, should I be really, really still sad and upset? Or should I be really happy that we're making a difference? And I can only imagine the fight that's going on within your hearts and minds about how to feel about what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, really, you would much rather have your son still in the military, still coming home for dinner, still being able to say, I love you, good night. You would much, like, above anything else that you have already done, you would give that all away to have them back. But here's the thing. You helped a daughter not have to go through. You helped a daughter's parents not have to go through what you went through. You helped other family members that went through what you went through and gave them guidance and hope. You have turned Mr. Eric Ward's name into something so much more than it possibly could have been any other way.
Thank you.
And that is something to not only be commended, but it should be something that we thank both of you for. You have found the strength to be more than the tragedy. And that is fucking amazing.
Well, it's really flattering to hear that. Thank you so much. We just want to make sure he's not forgotten. We want to make sure that we tell the world how he lived and not have it be about how he died. And keep pushing out the good things he was doing for people, and making a difference for people as best as we can.
He is the driving force. He is the power behind everything you are doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is still here, and he is still making a difference. I guarantee you that boy, Mr. Eric Ward, will never be forgotten. I promise you.
When she did the TikTok account, it took off so fast. Yeah. And all of our rocks, they're all over the world now.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
I think the post office, I think both of our post offices, the local ones, hate us at this point. Because
you got to let me know how I can get one of those rocks, because I'll put it on the mantle right here, back here.
Hey, just send us your address.
Yeah, just send your address.
That's all you need to do.
I'll trust me. I'm going to make that happen. Go ahead. Keep going.
I was just going to say on Sunday, we mailed out, well, it's 3 big boxes, and then how many of the envelopes?
It was only like a dozen, and the thing is like that was small.
Yeah,
I've gone there with like 50 envelopes, and the lady at the counter is kind of like,
oh shit,
and they're all heavy as hell because there's rocks in them, And they look at you like, what is this? Yeah. And then when they say, is there anything liquid, fragile, perishable, flammable, whatever they say? I'm like, no, they're rocks. Yeah. They're like, rocks.
Yeah, after dealing with about 1,000 of those, she's like, you guys couldn't use feathers?
You know what? Anybody out there, What Makes Us Fire Family, go to the Forward Project, get yourself a rock. Let's show this fucking support. Let's piss off that mail lady just a little bit.
Right. To explain what the rocks are, too, if anybody doesn't know, they're engraved with Eric's name. They have a folded flag on them. Oh, thank you. Yep. And on the back, we have our social media information. So what happens is somebody gets a rock. They post on social media where they've taken it in the world to hide it. And then they leave it there. And
I'm not taking it anywhere. It's going to stay with me.
Well, we'll send you 2 of them. That way you can hide
one. Okay. Yeah, no, because I'm dead serious. It will stay with me, and then I already have an idea of where I'm going to put the second one and where it's going to stay.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
It's going to stay at my fire station.
That's awesome. Great. Love that. That's perfect. So then the next person finds it, they post it, they take it along. We've watched them travel. Some of them travel one. I don't know the name of the highway, but the highway that goes from the lower 48 states up to Alaska through Canada. We watched one travel up that highway, the Alaskan highway. I don't know what it's called.
It might be. If it went through California, that's the 101.
I don't know. Yeah, it started in Alaska. A friend named Will took it to Alaska with him, and then it started moving its way back down to the 48. They're in Europe, multiple countries, but a lot of creators on TikTok have them now, and they've been making videos with them, which had just been amazing.
Okie Bats was incredible.
Oh yeah, our friend Clint made the most moving video ever. Our friend Wolf made a really awesome video too.
Challenge accepted.
Right. Right. We got really excited about one though. Actually 2. We have It's Nate is a big military creator, and he has a rock.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It's _ and then It's Nate. He's in the military. So once you're on veteran TikTok, it's kind of easy to find him.
I'm sure. I have that For You is full of first responders and military.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
that's the great thing about TikTok too. But wait, I got to tell you the most exciting one. So, you know the band Sugar Ray?
Yeah.
Mark McGrath is lead singer, and just happened to find him on TikTok, liked him. He did a live and he was talking about, I want to hear your stories. I love how positive everybody is on TikTok. You guys are great. This isn't like, the other social media where everybody's fighting about politics and fake links and stuff.
There's definitely something to be said about TikTok's algorithm and getting people in touch with each other
with common interests. And yes, absolutely. And so we made a video and just duetted one of his, and we were like, do you want to rock? The dude replied like right away, made a video with us,
followed us on TikTok, and started messaging with us.
Yeah. The nicest guy. He was sending us these really awesome, positive, supportive DMs. I'm like, I'm just sitting here talking to
Mark McGrath.
I feel pretty cool. And I would have been a skeptic, like it's him,
Right.
But he actually did a video, and he's just the nicest dude. And the reason why that has significance is that was one of Eric's favorite singers.
Yes.
And we played a couple of the songs at his funeral. And whenever we hear them, there's that connection. So
that's amazing.
I never thought I would say the words that Mark McGrath has a rock for Eric, but he does. So
that is so amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah, it made our day.
Yeah,
it really did.
Where do you want Forward Project or projects to go from here?
Right now we're having such a hard time keeping up with just the rocks.
Right.
And we're good with that, because we're able to help other veteran organizations. Waypoint Vets. Did you talk about that already? Waypoint Vets?
I started to. My friend that I said rode her bike across the country, she had an epiphany during that ride. She did that ride to help herself. It worked. It was a great tool. And she thought, I'm in my own mind. I'm able to work through my issues, and I'm out in nature. I want to do that for other veterans. So she started an organization, a nonprofit called Waypoint Vets, and they take veterans on free outdoor adventures. So
I want to get you guys in touch with, if you guys work with nonprofits like that. I have a friend called Logan McKinney, and he has a nonprofit called Second Chance Outdoors, where he takes veterans on fully paid big game hunts as a therapy, and gets them on the track to getting their mental health better.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I am going to get him. Yeah, I'm going to get him in contact with you all. I told you a little bit about the nonprofit that I'm starting as well, where we are going to help first responders, civil service, active and retired military members get inpatient mental health treatment. That mental health treatment that you literally have to dedicate up to a month to 2 months of going of your own fruition, of your own free will, to get the help. And the reason why I did it is because financially I couldn't do it. I had to turn it down because I couldn't afford it. And I don't want that to be a deciding factor for anybody else. So what I am doing is I started the nonprofit. It's in paperwork's literally in process right now. So it's happening. But Logan already has his set up. I'm going to have him get in touch with you guys, and hopefully you guys can create something. And I know you're going to create something beautiful. I'm going to start winding it down. Hell, we've been talking for almost 2.5 hours now because, and I freaking love you guys. This is the first time where I've actually interviewed 2 guests at once. So
really?
you are my first dual guest, which is awesome. And Brian, that laugh is literally, I'm gonna take a clip of your laugh, and it's gonna be a GIF. I'm like, it's gonna go all over TikTok. Anytime something happens, I'm just gonna stitch your laugh in there. Anytime something funny happens, just
it's so true.
Oh my
it's infectious, bro.
It is.
Hashtag no homo, dude. And if you are, I only say hashtag no homo because I just don't fall in line with that lifestyle. Nothing against it. Just for me, hashtag no homo. Brian,
Hey,
bro,
you said $20 is $20.
you had to bring that up. You had to bring that up. I said $20 is $20 only if I got to see you do what we said you were going to do. And that is shake your ass.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's your laugh, man. Your laugh and y'all's genuine happiness and your genuine care. It's amazing. I'm going to start wrapping this down. We've had way too much fun. I'm going to have you guys back on in a couple months because I want to see where this is going. I want to see where you all are at. I want to see your new projects and everything else. And I want to keep people updated with where Eric's name is taking you all. And it's not just his name, it's the work you're putting behind it and the love that you're putting behind his name as well. You guys are creating something amazing. As I wind down, I usually ask 3 questions, and they're fairly simple questions. The first question's 2-part. Brian and Kendra Ward have a podcast called Forward Project, but they're interviewing Brian and Kendra Ward. What's the one question you would have asked yourselves and or piece of information that you would have wanted to share that maybe we didn't touch on?
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I would just want to say that, I had touched on earlier that on part of our goals, we don't want Eric to be forgotten. We want to share with the world how he lived and hope that it inspires them to be kind to other people as well, help other people. He was the type of person who didn't care where you were from, what you look like, all those other factors that people tend to focus on. He was going to treat you well.
Yep.
And maybe even if you didn't treat him very well, he was still going to keep trying and be kind to you. And we hope there can be some more of that in the world with, less instant judgment and more automatic kindness and helping each other. But the last piece is we want to use that in an organized way to help established, or maybe not yet established, but worthy nonprofits that reflect him. Veterans causes, animals. He loved animals. People that just need help, that maybe don't start out at the same start line as other people who need some extra help. Those are things that he just did automatically. And man, we were so proud of him for that. That just pure kind heart. That was awesome to us, that's who he was.
Yeah.
Eric was being what we call in the What Makes Us Fire family. He was being the change in the world that he wanted to see.
Yeah.
No matter what. We always want to see people change. We always want to see this change in our world and the way we treat each other. And we're always waiting for somebody else to do it. Well, Eric was the guy doing it. Eric was the man being the change in the world he wanted to see. That's amazing. My second question to you is a very simple one. Do you have any questions for me? Simple as that. If I cannot answer it, I will respectfully say, with all due respect, sir, ma'am, please think of another fucking question and go for it.
Yeah, I actually do have a question.
Go for it.
Was it anything other than your personal experience with the depression and things like that that got you into doing podcasts like this?
That's actually a really good question. I actually started the podcast with none of that in mind. I started the podcast because I had an idea that I wanted to share, in that civil service personnel, be it military, first responder, whatever, I started noticing the stigma that was kind of tied to us, in that everybody kind of thought of us as superhuman heroes, more than. And I felt like that was kind of a stigma that we had to live up to everybody. And we're not. We're just normal people doing an abnormal job. Yeah. We're just normal people that see some shit. And I wanted
to share that shit that we see affects us just like everybody else. We are no more special than anybody else when it comes to seeing tragedy, even if it's not our own.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share that. I wanted to get the dads and moms, sorry about the dog. I wanted to get the mothers and fathers perspectives. I wanted to get the siblings perspectives, the kids perspectives, the aunts, the uncles, the friends, the cousins. Shut up, dog. And I wanted to get their perspectives because they all tied in to this life. And when I called the show What Makes Us Fire, really, I say fire because I'm a firefighter, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to keep that. But if you notice, my logo just says what makes us.
Yeah.
And the reason why it just says what makes us is because it's more of a what makes us a civil service type of human being. Right. And part of that is that we're human. We're human beings first. We're normal human beings doing abnormal jobs. And that's going to throw me into my last question. What do you think it is that makes us fire, that makes us civil service, that makes you somebody willing to make the choice of sacrificing of yourself, be it time, money, emotion, civil service to people? What do you think it is about a person that allows them to make that choice to do that?
Because just like Eric, we wanted to be part of something that was more than just us as individuals.
It's a very simple answer. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I'm going to challenge that answer in that you know just as well as I do, and we talked about it earlier on, being in this civil service realm, we know there's so many different backgrounds. There are so many different moralistic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, political backgrounds, ideological backgrounds. And these backgrounds in the general public, in civilization outside of this civil service realm, these things clash all the time. And they clash sometimes very ugly. But then you get into this realm and those things don't matter anymore.
No, they're not at the forefront at all.
When did we decide that those things aren't going to matter and that human beings mattered more?
I think it just comes with experience, whether it's day one where you're being screamed at by a drill sergeant and you have no choice. Maybe you're thrown into it.
Right.
Or maybe you find yourself in a position where there's a leader or boss or supervisor or drill sergeant or whoever who is someone who's not traditionally been in power. And now you start to learn that maybe some stereotypes that you had about someone or a different type of person is not what you thought. And again, you learn that things are different and you start to experience things with different people. So, I think experience is part of that answer, but also where you come from. And those start to mesh and mold and change and evolve over time.
Plus, you come to realize mission success is only going to happen when everybody's on the same page and working together.
I fucking love that answer. Mission success is only going to happen when we all decide that we need to work together.
Yep. That
mission, I think, in general, for everybody, should be to be the change in the world we want to see.
Right.
Absolutely.
To do what Eric was doing. That should be the mission. Yep. And once we all decide to make that our mission, our differences, our different ideas, no matter what kind of difference it is, that's, once we have that common goal, that's what's going to make this world a better place.
You're so on target, that I can't agree more.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about the dog.
Oh,
hold on
okay.
1 second.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Hush.
What kind is he?
I have 2 dogs. I have 2 huskies.
Oh, nice.
We've had a few huskies.
Yeah, we've had quite a few huskies.
Yep.
We have 3 dogs right now. So,
as you were saying, I'm so sorry about that. I'm
No,
going to
that's
leave that
okay.
in there. I like leaving little shit like that in there because it's like, look, guys, this isn't as pretty as it sounds when you get it on the freaking show. I'm at home sitting in my game room it is messy as fuck right now.
Yeah, we're not showing you the rest of this room.
No shit.
But you were saying you agree because it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, part of this experience has been realizing the stupid things that people worry about and stress about and fight about. What a waste of time, when you could be doing better things to help people, help yourself, help your relationship, whatever is important to you, instead of focusing on what other people are doing and how you want to change them. Start with yourself and putting positive back out into the world. Man, things would be a lot different.
Wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Well, Brian, Kendra, Mr. Brian, Miss Kendra Ward, I want to say thank you again for coming on the show. I want to say thank you again for taking us through your relationship. 7 weeks still blows my fucking mind. I want to say thank you for sharing that tragedy and reliving it with us and allowing us to be privy to that. It takes a lot of strength, and you guys definitely showed that. And then I also want to say thank you for sharing your project, for allowing yourselves to use Eric's name the way he would have wanted it to be used. You guys are amazing for that. I appreciate you guys
taking so much time for us tonight.
No, absolutely. The fact that you guys allowed me to pick and pry and make fun of you was great. Again, I'm going to have you guys back on the show in a couple months. I want to get an update of where you guys are at. What Makes Us Fire Family? This was Mr. Brian and Miss Kendra Ward. Thank them for what they are doing and for how they are allowing their son's name to continue living on in the best way possible. You guys have fun. Stay safe out there. Let's be like Eric and show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who might need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. And I'm sure Eric knew this. Being that difference, it felt fucking amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Let's be the change that we want to see out in the world. Peace.
See you, bud.
All right, everybody. That was Brian and Kendra Ward, founders of the Forward Project and the name of their son, Eric Ward. I told you the episode was going to be a bit heavy, but what they shared shows the kind of people that they are, the kind of person Eric was, and in a way, the kind of person Eric still is. He's living through what his parents are doing in his name. They're doing things he would have done. He was being the change he wanted to see in the world. And so his parents continue that for him. I want to thank Brian and Kendra again for sharing everything they shared. It definitely makes you realize how important it is to start the conversation, to not be ashamed, to know that it's okay to not be okay. What Makes Us Fire Family? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing. Please go follow Brian and Kendra Ward on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok with the number 4 word, WARD, project. Show them some love from the What Makes Us Fire family. Please continue to like, share, and follow on all your social media platforms. with the tag at What Makes Us Fire on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Also on Facebook, we created a group page. So look up the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. That is a group page where we will hold raffles and certain online fundraising events to help the What Makes Us Fire Foundation get up off the ground so we can start helping those that need the help. Also, if you need to reach out to me, you can always reach out to me at whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com. And anybody out there needing help, remember, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is free, completely anonymous, and completely confidential. I want anybody out there needing the help, please reach out. The number to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. If making the phone call doesn't work for you, please visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org, where you will find a multitude of resources for you to get you on the path to mental clarity, to being good. Please follow the What Makes Us Fire podcast on YouTube, as well as you'll be able to see the pretty faces behind the weird voices. Also, What Makes Us Fire Family. There is a Cash App that, if you decide you want to, you can donate to the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. The Cash App is $What Makes Us Fire. Very simple. It'll help fund not only the podcast, but also the foundation, the online store, and everything that goes into building this foundation from the ground up. It would be greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps. It allows us to get better guests. It allows us to get better equipment. It allows us to start building the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. Any little bit helps. Again, Cash App is $What Makes Us Fire. Much love to you all. Stay safe. Have fun. Show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. And it feels fucking amazing to be that difference. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Peace.